Co-host, as always, is our good friend, Mr. Darren Starling.
Yellow.
Angela will be joining us in momentarily. She is currently on her way home. As soon as she gets home and gets set up, she'll be joining us to talk about the fantasy genre of isekai. That's going to be our topic of discussion tonight. Before we delve into the topic, we want to remind everybody that Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media for the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencil, stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you tonight by Casey Fox for all of your artwork cosplay commission needs. Be sure to check out Casey Fox, that's KAYCIFOXX, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Etsy. We're also brought to you by Triple S Lawn Care. If you're in the Raleigh, North Carolina area and you're looking for top quality lawn care at competitive pricing, be sure to check out Triple S Lawn Care. Contact Darren. He'll be sure to hook you up with great work for a great price.
I guarantee it.
And good evening, Mario. It's great to see you in the chat. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you celebrate that here in the U.S., I know we have been celebrating Thanksgiving. I'm not sure if there was any special holidays out in the UK, Mario. Please feel free to enlighten us because I don't know what goes on outside of the U.S. a lot of times. So if there was any special events going on recently, feel free to let us know if you have anything big coming up. I know that Thanksgiving was this past Thursday here in the U.S. and I lucked out. The local job for the railroad that I was on was annulled for Thursday and Friday, and I don't actually have to start my next local job until Tuesday, so I have 5 days off. If I sound a little weird, it's because I'm recovering from a cold or some sort of sickness that I've had for the last couple of days, but working on getting better. And hello, Mario, and hello to John as well. Mario says, we're an outlier though. It was a lot quieter this year. So I'm glad that you had a good one. I already took some meds, John. I've been taking Tylenol, cold and flu, so it's been helping quite a bit. If I do start coughing, I'll mute up. So I do apologize ahead of time for that. But Darren's here to help keep the conversation going. And like I mentioned earlier, Angela will be joining us in a little bit. She's currently traveling home. And then next week, we will be without Angela because she will be at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. And unfortunately, I will not be able to get out that way because I'll be working 11 straight days.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, because I'll be working Tuesday through Saturday on one local job. Then next Sunday, I've got class starting at 7 a.m. And then Monday through Friday, I work another local. So technically be set 11 straight days heading to the rail yard. But should be fun. Be good to get back into the swing of things. But having this much time off feels weird. I'm like you, Darren. I don't know how to relax, so having this much time off has just been very bizarre.
When I was sick the other month, I had 5 days off. By day 2, 2.5, 3, I was losing it. So I do know how you feel.
I am waiting for Ross to show up because he gave me crap last week, and I just want to let him know that I did watch Isekai Cheat Magician. I binged it in 3 days.
Oh. That's probably the most generic anime and generic isekai anime I've watched in God knows how long.
Yeah. Mario says, yeah, we need more Ross.
Bob Ross?
Maybe. Look at the happy trees. But tonight we're going to be talking about the fantasy genre of anime. shows, and we're going to keep isekai out of this. I know a lot of fantasies merge into the isekai world, but we want to focus strictly on the fantasy genre tonight. Partially because fantasy has been kind of strong coming back somewhat as of late. I think you were mentioning, Darren, that like Freerin has one of the highest MAL scores
of all. It recently surpassed FMA's Full Metal Alchemist, which is notorious for maintaining the number one spot for the longer periods of time. Every now and then you get a seasonal anime that's overhyped and takes it away for a little while just for it to fall back. But we'll see how long it lasts because this one seems to be worthy of at least continuing longer than normal. I think it'll eventually fall off, maybe stay in the top 10 or 20, but I don't think it's going to maintain its number one spot very long.
And here's Ange.
Hello. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm recovering from an illness, but I'm doing all right other than that.
Oh, no.
I'm good.
Ross says he's suffering from terrible allergies. Hello, Ross, and hello, HH. Ross, you gave me crap last week about not having seen Isekai Cheat Magician, so I binged it in 3 days.
Did you watch the dub or the sub? Just curious.
I think the dub, just because I wanted to watch it quick and watched it on my phone while, I'd get to work a half hour to an hour early and watch an episode or two.
And we have an HH in the chat.
Yes, HH has been hiding lately. But hello to everybody out there. As I mentioned before, tonight we're going to be talking about the fantasy genre. And also, Ange, unfortunately, next weekend I will not be able to come out and say hi.
Oh, no.
I will be working 11 straight days, including class next Sunday, which is from 7 to about 11 or 12.
7 a.m. until about, or 7 p.m.
7 a.m. till around noonish. And then I'm not sure how far Allentown is from Philly. I'm not sure what time you're leaving there to head to get your plane.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would work out for us to meet up.
No. Sad times.
And this week I'll be working 8 a.m. to probably 8 p.m. So that would be going into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah, that's just chaos.
So unfortunately, not able to meet up, but just shoot me your address and I'll mail that out to you.
Fair enough. I will ping you after. After the show.
Sounds good.
And we've got chatter in the chat. Apparently, Goblin Slayer English dub episode 6 did not go out this week.
Most English dubs did not go out this week.
I wonder if it's 100% they took the week off for Thanksgiving.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that because of Thanksgiving, because we've been watching Freerin in English dub, my wife and I have, and episode 10 didn't drop this week. Spy Family's English dub didn't drop this week.
And Mario saying can confirm.
Although he can.
No, I've been. My mom came to visit for Thanksgiving, so I am even further behind, and I think we're 2 episodes behind on everything.
I think we're like 2 episodes or 3 episodes behind on Spy Family. We decided, since we were so far behind, that we just continue it in the English dub. And to that, I can say the takeover for Anya's voice from Brene Bryn April taking over for Megan Shipman. It seemed flawless.
Oh, good.
Bryn did an amazing job as
seam-
Anya's voice actress.
So it
And-
was a seamless transition.
Oh, definitely. You really couldn't tell a difference.
Mario is confirming this theory in the chat because they pre-recorded the week before, but not everything got done before Thanksgiving and the office is closed.
And Mario says that I jumped right in when Bryn took over, and you really can't tell a difference from Megan to Bryn. Amazing match.
And John, jumping gears, John Knight in the chat says they saw the Marvels and it was crazy good. I saw it as well, and not gonna lie, it was significantly better than I was anticipating. It was a lot of fun.
And John Knight's asking, what's your favorite fantasy anime?
Let's go to,
Because right now I'm scrolling through my anime list on the fantasy tab. But if I pick one and it says isekai, I'm not going to count it.
you know what? I'm about to do the same thing.
I might as well also.
You know what? Are we disregarding all other genres, or are we just disregarding?
They have to be predominantly fantasy, I'd say, with like subgenres. Like, so long as they have the fantasy aspect, they should be fine. But I was planning on trying to stick more strictly fantasy than isekai fantasy, since pretty much all isekai
because
ends up
there's
as
a lot.
fantasy.
Because towards the top, if you under my anime list, fantasy genre, the top two are both listed as action adventure fantasy, and they're two I really really like, but I don't know that I'd call them fantasy per se.
Which are, I'm not there.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online is definitely, it is more of a fantasy than an isekai because it's a video game.
It's not
It's
even
kind of like
listed.
it's more like a sci-fi.
It's not even listed as an isekai. It's subtitles. Its genres listed: action, adventure, fantasy, romance.
And themes, love polygon, video game.
And then fantasy's kind of all over the place.
It really is.
Technically, One Piece is a fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of which, a kid came in today with a One Piece sweatshirt that looked with a similar design to the one I purchased at GalaxyCon, Doug.
Yeah.
It looked like the same material.
Oh, that's cool. John says his favorite fantasy anime is Tokyo Ghoul. I think mine might be Danmachi. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon?
Doing a quick scroll through this list.
Mario says Berserk would be fantasy too. HH says Trigun is the only one that comes to mind that isn't isekai. But if games aren't considered isekai, then the original dot hack sign is his all-time favorite.
Probably one of the most well done shows that I could consider fantasy was Violet Evergarden. Aside from that, I'd have to go with Goblin Slayer as being one of my more recent favorites.
I'm actually gonna kind of go with, honestly, given this list, I think I gotta go with. Goblin Slayer's a really good recent one. But I think I gotta go with Sword Art.
I mean, the Ancient Magus' Bride season 1 was really, really good, but I have not started season 2. I watched one episode of season 2, so I can't really put that up there.
That's Wonder Egg Priority is listed as a fantasy. That was really, really good.
All of my high school DxDs listed as a fantasy. Even
Jobless
though
Reincarnation, Overlord,
Monster
Re:Zero.
Rosario
Slime,
Rosario Vampire.
of course.
No,
How
Familiar
not to summon,
Zero,
how
but
not to
that's
summon a
technically
demon
isekai.
lord. That's a isekai. Testament of Sister New Devil, of course.
Little Witch Academia.
Inuyasha.
Amagi Brilliant Park.
Amagi
Is
Brilliant
the
Park was good, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite.
is this a zombie?
Hunter x Hunter.
More dungeon. Mandaiji, that was more of an isekai, even though I love it. Redo of Healer, that wasn't an isekai.
Monster
It was,
Musume.
yep. God Eater. I could definitely. That's
Uh,
one of my.
technically listed as a fantasy. Bo Fury.
Yep, I was about to say. I think you just saw that. Oh, Recreators, the reverse isekai.
Actually, I might take mine back. It might be Snow White with the red hair because that was a fantastic fantasy romance.
Hey, here's our best fantasy, Doug. Interspecies reviewers.
No, just no. Uh,
More dungeon.
Ross says their favorite is Lord Marksman and Vanadis.
I like that one too.
Mario is saying finish season 2. I think that's to you, Doug.
Yeah.
And John Knight says Fairy Tale is listed as a fantasy. That is
Of
absolutely
course.
right.
Yep. I only made it through 130 something episodes.
I was in the
Oh,
120s, I think.
here you go, Doug. What are you doing at the end of the world?
That was the problem with that one. It was a great show, had a really strong storyline, but they rushed the ending. I feel like they could have had that be a 24 episode series and had a really, really good, solid story to go through the whole thing. Where the last 2 to 3 episodes just felt rushed. Like, okay, we just got to get something out there, and that was a little disappointing. And one reason I'm not saying Freerun is my all-time favorite right now is because it hasn't finished yet. But
Oh,
it is in my top 5.
ooh,
Dare,
I found another one of my favorites. Chaika,
all right. I
the
found
Coffin
what
Princess.
Mashal's on this list. I don't know if I'd call that a favorite, but it's a lot of fun.
I know you enjoyed that one.
Exactly.
Realist heroes on this list. Technically an isekai. Well, it is an isekai.
Darren, did you actually watch Plunderer?
Yes, it was. Ugh.
Okay, because I got through, I think I think we got through 2 episodes, if that.
It was. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it wasn't good.
I asked because it's actually also tagged as an ecchi, which I know you tend to like.
Ooh, I forgot about this one. Tales of Zestiria.
Kami-sama
And
Kiss was good too.
I forgot about Unbreakable Machine Doll.
Excuse me.
Still World is Beautiful. One of the
They
ones that's not normally up my alley, but I watched and actually enjoyed.
There you go, Darren. Isekai Quartet. It doesn't get more fantasy than throwing 4 fantasies together.
There you go. Ooh, Grand Crest Senkai. Even
Um,
though that was an average show, I thoroughly enjoyed that one.
from John Knight, have either of you watched Made in Abyss? And if so, would you recommend it? I haven't
No,
seen it.
I've heard excellent things about it, but have not seen it.
I have not seen it. I've heard good things about it as well, but I've also heard enough to feel like that wouldn't be in my wheelhouse of stuff that I would typically watch.
Depressing.
Yeah. Well, not so much depressing. I've heard a lot of ups and downs about it, and it's like I don't know with how much. Here's the problem, and we touched on this last week. There's so much damn anime out that if you're on the fence about watching something, I'm probably gonna turn to something else. I'm not gonna take the time of, well, it sounds okay, or I don't think it's something I'm gonna like. I'd rather find something else I am gonna enjoy. Hence why I'm watching like 10 anime right now. And Ross, as I mentioned earlier, I did binge watch Isekai Cheat Magician. It wasn't bad, but it was to put it in Angela's terms, it was very predictable tropes. It was your normal Isekai.
Was it better than Knights and Magic?
No, I like Knights and Magic better.
I just happened to see that across my list, so I'm like, I'll bring it up. Of course, if they brought up Fairy Tail, they'd have to put in Eden Zero. All of Yu-Gi-Oh, all of Pokemon, um,
All of Digimon.
Demon Lord Retry is on here, of course.
Combatants will be dispatched.
Madoka.
Realist Hero. This
Realist
other
Hero
one,
is really good, but it's Isekai.
yep.
It
The
doesn't
strongest,
feel like it for most of it, but
Yeah, Konosuba's
the,
on here too.
the strongest sage with the weakest crest, of course.
oh, Freeland's
Um,
gonna be 28 episodes. Nice.
oh wow, now we're getting into some of the old stuff. Tsubasa Chronicle. I heard good things about that one back in the day.
Kino's Journey was actually pretty decent. World Break, Aria of a Curse for a Holy Swordsman was a good
Yep.
anime as well.
Kobayashi, of course, is considered fantasy. Your Monster Doctor, I believe.
Thank you.
Banished from the
Monster
Heroes
Robot,
Party.
of course. Oh, Chrome Shelled Regios, my very first anime. That's definitely a fantasy apocalyptic world. Highly recommend.
Heaven's Lost Property.
Ooh,
Devil May Cry, which I never actually watched.
Soul Eater.
Princess Connect Redive. That show it wasn't all that bad either, if I'm being honest.
Here you go, Peter Grill.
That sucked. That was utter garbage. I'm sorry if you're out there and you enjoyed Peter Grill, but that just got old so quick.
And then Seven Deadly Sins.
Crossange. I enjoyed that one.
Here you go, Darren. How about Shuffle?
Yes. All my yes on that one.
I figured you'd like that one. That would be a top 5 for sure.
I'm
I love
quitting.
how we're just listing stuff off, and then we're eventually gonna have to pick our favorites out of these.
I think I'm enough pages in where I think I can honestly say if we're going by this list, I think I'm just going to stand by my favorites would be Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Sword Art Online.
Oh, here's one you forgot about, Doug.
What's that one?
Beast Tamer.
That actually was really good. What was that? Isekai or was that not isekai?
No, that was not isekai. That was
Okay.
like banished from the hero's party.
Ah, okay. Oh, here you go, Darren. Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World.
Isekai, though.
Isekai.
Here you go. Gotta be the Twin Tail.
Actually, if I'm gonna put an oddball fantasy in, even though I think it's technically, it's considered isekai, but Restaurant to Another World.
No, that was considered fantasy, but also isekai.
Yeah, I think it's more fantasy with isekai aspect because people from other worlds are going to this restaurant.
And let's see. Clockwork Planet's on here.
That wasn't bad either.
Kuma
That was
Bear's
actually
on
really
there.
funny. Kuma Bear's on there,
Yep, of course.
but that's technically an isekai.
Yep. Then we got the 7 Mortal Sins. Totally different from the 7 Deadly Sins.
Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Isekai.
Blue Exorcist.
Monster
Here's another
Girl
one
Doctor.
I watched. Unlimited Fafnir. Maria the Virgin Witch. I forgot about that one.
That one was actually, I thought it was really good. My wife couldn't get into it.
The one I hated, The Land of Leedale, was no thank you.
Saint's Magic Power is fantastic, but it's isekai. So I can't really put it on this list.
This one was a disappointment, but wasn't the worst I've ever seen. Adventurers Who Don't Believe in Humanity. Another isekai, Handyman Saito.
Oh, Kakario was a fantastic show as well. Bed and Breakfast for Spirits, but that one's labeled as isekai.
Arslan Senkai. Trinity 7.
Mario in the chat says Clockwork Planet infuriates him and literally makes him ill. Mm-hmm. Why is that, Mario? I'm curious.
That because of the studio that did it, or the story behind it?
And then we've also got Naruto on this list.
Of course.
Nier is on this list. Nier was weird.
Let's see. Oh, here you go. Chilling in My 30s. That wasn't an isekai.
Sky Wizards Academy?
Yep. That one wasn't. That was generic, but wasn't terrible.
Never heard of it before just now.
Kabanari of the Iron Fortress, aka people thought it was ripping off Attack on Titan when the original visuals debuted, because same studio. Now we're getting into titles that I don't even know. Hey, look, Conception's on the list.
Sabikui Bisco's on here. That one was that again. I would call more sci-fi as opposed to fantasy, but it was good. It was fun.
Strike the Blood.
Yashahime.
Oh God, Full Dive is on here.
My Hime.
That is. I can't. Eminence in Shadow.
Of course. I think I'm further down than y'all are. Here you go. Vending Machine, but isekai.
Yeah, because I was just past She Professed Herself Pupil of the Wise Man, which was really good, and also Smartphone, which
I
both
disagree.
are isekais.
I disagree with you on that one. That one infuriated me.
What, Wise
Oh.
Man?
Yes.
My Happy Marriage is listed as a fantasy romance. I really enjoyed that one too.
Comet Lucifer was trash. Chaos Dragon was trash.
The
I
time I got
regret both of them.
reincarnated as a slime.
Of course, top tier.
By the
Dragon
grace of the
Ball,
gods.
Fate.
Queen's Blade.
Now I laugh with Inuyasha because it puts its themes as historical mythology and time travel, but it's technically an isekai.
Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here you go, Doug. Girls Bravo.
That was something.
My one hit kill sister. My two hit target attack mother.
Negima.
Black Clover. All right, I think
I already.
mine. I think I'm wondering if my list is in a different order than, or how these lists are ordered.
Here you go, Doug. Show by Rocks on here.
Yeah, but I think that would technically would be isekai for Show by Rock seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah, it was showing season 1.
And then we've got Fruit of Evolution, but its its theme is isekai.
Of
Yeah.
course.
A Centaur's Life. That was definitely interesting.
I'm saving 80,000 gold for my retirement. That was isekai-ish. Yes.
Yeah.
Because she could go back and forth.
Yeah, she could go back and forth between her time and her world and the other world. And Show by Rock is listed isekai music as themes. Now, Show by Rock Mashima Resh isn't really, that stays in the one world, so that wouldn't be considered isekai in my opinion.
And then we've got Dot Hack listed down here. Yeah, I'm at the. I think my list is just in a different order because I'm just now seeing things that you guys have brought up quite some time ago.
Yeah, and I'm seeing things that Darren has been bringing up. I'm Kuma Bear Punch, which was season 2 of Kuma Bear.
I'm just now seeing Kuma Bear season 1.
Arifueta, but that was an isekai. That was
And
one that you enjoyed, Darren.
Yep.
I saw that one a while ago.
I am, if going by the tab at the bottom, I'm hitting the 901 to 1000 block.
Okay, because I'm just now hitting 601.
Okay.
I have no idea where I'm at because I'm on mobile.
Yep, and mobile changes everything.
Yep.
And you having no idea where you're at, how's that any different from any other week?
And HH brings up a valid point. So what are we using to qualify as fantasy? Because I don't think any anime out there is based on a true story.
They have to have the tag fantasy on my anime list, but I would say more in like a fantasy setting. So as little real life, basically as many non-earthly occasions as possible, or what we would consider modern day Earth.
I would also say if it. Meh.
Modern day society, let's put it that way. No school, no, as much as I hate to say it, because High School DxD ties into that, even though a lot of it doesn't take place in the school. Um, but I would say stuff that doesn't involve your average everyday life, like being out in the being in a guild on an adventure, that kind of deal.
Yeah, John Knight in the chat says Fire Force has fantasy. Ross says My Bride is a Mermaid. That show I found funny.
Have you mentioned Railgun yet?
Actually, no. I passed
saw
by
it.
that, but I didn't say anything.
I think same actually.
And then all of the magical girl animes. The Madoka Magical Girl Racing Project.
Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence it started strong and then it just weakened out as it went. It kind of got disappointing. Almost annoying towards the end. And I'm giving the disgraced noble lady I rescued a crash course in naughtiness. That one has been somewhat entertaining, but very predictable.
Did you watch Tenperu, or was that that's not really fantasy, is it?
So what about Spy Classroom?
That fantasy-ish, I guess.
It's listed as action fantasy mystery.
Because it takes place. I mean, it is school related. It's just set in old time era, so like 1800, 1900 era.
I've not actually watched it. I just passed that point on the list.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was decent, but it's no Assassination Classroom.
I've got to get back to that. I started that about the time I moved 4 times in like 3 months. So I kind of fell out of watching that.
Top
But
tier show.
it was entertaining from what I had seen.
How far did you get?
I don't even remember anymore. I would have to start over from the beginning. Because I was still living in Mass at the time. So we're talking 6 years ago, maybe 7.
Dang. Has it been that long since Ass Class debuted?
I think so.
Wow.
Probably.
I think it debuted in 2015.
So yes. Did we bring up Ranking of Kings?
Nope. That would definitely be considered fantasy.
The best part is if you just type in Ass Class and search, Assassination Classroom comes up.
So no X-rated links?
No, it came right up to searches for Assassination Classroom.
They did. They made an anime from Tales of the Abyss.
Yep. Did anyone watch the Tales of Zestiria anime? Or was that just me?
Just you.
I think just you.
I would.
Because apparently that was a popular game franchise.
The Tales of franchise games are. They have a cult following. I've played a few of them. If they did an anime for Tales of Arise, I would watch the hell out of that.
Whoa.
But what to you guys would make a good fantasy show? What would be like the best case for a fantasy show for you guys?
Set off in a world that doesn't necessarily follow the laws and rules of everyday occurrences. Like, I guess magic and whatnot would be a good one. Um, and of course, nothing that takes place in the modern time period. Um,
Agreed. It
it,
needs to.
it's hard to say fantasy without saying adventurers and guilds and Demon King and saving the world and stuff like that. But there are quite a few shows where that may be a part of the show, but that's not the character's main focus.
I mean, Goblin Slayer would be up there for Goblin Slayer's up there as a good fantasy. Sword Art Online, one of my favorites.
Let's see, Grand Crest Senkai, as I said, not the best, but definitely enjoyable. Sticks out to me quite a bit. Um,
I didn't necessarily think of Mashal as a fantasy, but that one I really enjoyed. I mean, Chainsaw Man was on that list.
of
Uh,
course.
again, again, I wouldn't necessarily call that a fantasy, but
Well, I guess if it involves any kind of scope outside of the ordinary realm of human possibility in real life, it's considered fantasy.
yeah, I mean, they do bargain with demon. I guess they do bargain with devils, and they've got supernatural powers. But
You said you do agree or disagree?
I didn't see it as such. But now that I think about it, I can't argue with it.
Because it's technically a cult.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of fantasy, I think closer.
Adventures, basically.
Well, I think closer to like because I've been reading fantasy novels since I was probably far too young. I think more like things like Wheel of Time or Game of Thrones when I think of the fantasy as a genre. And both of those series have a lot of epic level world building, uh, people with arguably OP abilities.
Hmm. What do you think, Doug? What makes a good what do you define as a fantasy?
Well, for me, I think a good fantasy, the story, as Angela has said many a times, the story is a big plus. If it's got a good story, it'll lure you in, and it doesn't have to be demon lord. It doesn't have to be medieval times. It have it set in a world outside of what we comprehend on a daily basis. Kind of what you said, Darren. Give us something that stretches our imagination. Give me something that makes me look at things I may know from media, whether it be movies, anime, TV shows, comics, manga, whatever the case may be, and make me look at it differently after watching this. Show me something new. Even if it's tropes that I'm used to seeing, present them in a different way. Stuff that makes me think a little bit more about a situation of, okay, it's not okay, it's a magic world, but here we have this person hiding their strength. That, we have another person who may, you know, everybody believes he's the hero. There's stories being told that he's the hero and that he was able to pull Excalibur out of the stone when in reality he couldn't do it.
Or he could do it and he had to throw Excalibur back because he's an annoying.
Excalibur.
Did you watch Soul Eater, Ange?
No.
I
That
think
was
you
a
should
good
watch
show
it just.
too.
I think
From
you should watch it just to see Excalibur.
from what I have heard, based on what other friends have told me, it's not something I would actually enjoy.
I'd still say watch the Excalibur scenes if nothing else.
Fool.
Ross in the chat is saying that as long as it has a good storyline and a lot of make believe that does not exist, makes a good fantasy.
But that's most all anime. With the doesn't exist part. Huh.
HH says Soul Eater was pretty good, a little childish, probably more shonen than fantasy. I could see that, but it still was entertaining. I enjoyed it.
It's a good starter anime, nonetheless. Probably one of the better ones out there. If I had to direct a fairly new anime watcher to something that wasn't so mainstream, I'd probably direct them to that, despite it being an old mainstream. That's going to be a little bit harder to get through because there's 50 something episodes, but still.
But it's still it's a good show, decent story, and if you're trying not to scare them away with too much fan service too early on, then Soul Eater's a good choice because there's really not much of the way of fan service in that.
Well, not unless you leave Blair out, there really isn't.
And John Knight in the chat is asking, how was everyone's Thanksgiving?
My relatives crashed my house.
My mom came up from Florida to experience the New England for the first time in a while.
And for the first time in 5 years, my entire family got together at my mom's house. So it was me and my two older sisters and my mom, and the younger of my two older sisters, two kids were with her, and we had Evie there and my wife, and we had a good time. It was nice to have everybody together.
Ross says his Thanksgiving was just average, and John Knight in the chat is saying to prove our point from previous shows about anime being mainstream, Goku and Luffy had balloons appear in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
As well as Pikachu and Eevee.
And Luffy had a wardrobe malfunction. Right out the gate.
I was reading about that.
I watched it happen.
I do find that kind of funny. It just made it look like he had a soaked hat with it, how it was dripping down. It looked like, him being a pirate. Maybe he fell in the water and just came out and his hat was all wet and dripping down. That's the way I saw it from the pictures.
But just goes to show you how mainstream anime has become.
I mean, One Piece took over Times Square for 30 minutes. It doesn't get much more mainstream than that.
Pretty much.
Yep.
But to be fair, Goku did it first. Well, no, it was really Pikachu.
I would argue Pokemon took over the world.
Well, they are the highest grossing franchise of all time.
And here's a topic that I heard from one of the streamers that I watch that I thought you would find interesting, Darren. If the Pikachu world was real, just how rich do you think Ash Ketchum would be? When you factor in all the seasons, all the tournaments, they had to have made decent money from the tournaments and stuff, and he was always in the finals.
Yeah, but I don't know, because he did have his fair share of losses as well, but also generally the people that would pay you large sums of money were either rich or they were people of status. He almost never fought any of the people with status outside of the gym leaders. He almost never challenged a champion. He rarely got to battle with the Elite Four. There was never really a showdown with the boss of any of the teams Pokemon. It was always the commanders. And that really didn't start until Sinnoh. Because I don't think they ever really got into it with Aqua and Magma. I mean, they got into it with Team Rocket all the time, but still, that's to be expected.
And Ross says Ash would be broke because how him and his Pokemon tend to damage more than to stop a bad guy's environment around them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Team Rocket's blasting off again.
I mean, name a more iconic trio in the modern era.
I don't know if I can.
You got anything, Ange?
Nope.
I mean, you just say Team Rocket, and right away your mind goes to Jesse, James, and Meow. HH says Yakko, each other, and Dot. I think you mean Yakko, Wacko, and Dot.
The Animaniacs? Eh. Any other animated trios?
Not off the top of my head.
I mean, about what I got for anime. I mean, there's the one set of bad guys from Gundam would be the TriStars, I think.
Wasn't there 3 people in the Bubble Butt gang too from Fairy Tale?
Sadly.
Of course, that's one I would think of. That's about where I stopped watching it.
You know the original trio, right? That forget anime, but the original trio in the general scope of things. Who do you think of?
Three Stooges.
Yep. But
Yeah.
which one? Larry, Moe, and Curly. Larry, Moe, and Shemp.
No, it's Larry, Moe, and Curly. Get it right.
Larry, Moe, and Curly, but you also had Shemp and Joe. A lot of people forget about Joe. Joe was in there from time to time as well.
Yeah, you're right.
I grew up watching that stuff.
I never really paid attention to that one. Predominantly, whenever I watched it, it was either Curly or Shemp.
I never actually watched the Three Stooges.
Did you watch the movie that came out a couple years ago?
No.
No.
It actually wasn't the worst in the world. They were at a church raised by sisters, and they got kicked out. Of course.
We're on a mission from God?
Wouldn't that be something?
We're on a mission from God. We're trying to get the band back together.
They were trying to secure money so the church wouldn't be completely shut down.
We're on a mission from God. The Blues Brothers.
Thank you.
I knew exactly where you were going with that, Ange.
I'm glad somebody did.
I didn't know that one.
It's amazing how many talented people they got in that movie.
Agreed.
But back on the topic of fantasy animes, um, you know, there seems to be a slight uptick of, fantasy anime coming out now. Not just fantasy isekai, but actual good fantasy. And I know Ange is tired of hearing me boast about Freerin, but it is up there as, in my opinion, one of probably the best fantasy anime out right now. And I don't say that a lot unless I really have like, this show has had stuff happen in it that has like made me rethink certain things of the fantasy genre, which is something I love. It's opened my eyes to different things. Seeing the world through the eyes of an elf, we usually, don't get that kind of a glimpse, and it's a slow pace where time in the anime seems to fly by quick, but as quick as it goes by, it feels at a slow pace, which kind of makes you feel like you're actually living in Freeren's shoes and experiencing life through her eyes, as opposed to, our own. To her, 50 years is nothing, where to us, that's, for some people, it's almost a half a lifetime or a whole lifetime.
And how far are you? Are you caught up on Goblin Slayer or no?
No, I am 2 episodes behind.
Okay, so you're caught up enough to see where they disembark for a wedding, right?
They got to, basically, the last thing I remember is they got there. Her brother, cousin, whoever it is,
Cousin.
cousin and sister show up, and then it becomes a guard the princess, we're under attack.
Uh,
And
I
that is the last.
haven't got quite that far. I'm on the one where they're entering the valley and they're dodging rocks.
Okay, so you're at least 1 episode behind me.
Yep. My point was, do you remember how old her sister was?
Oh God, no. It was
The
several
wedding,
it was several hundred.
wrong, 1,000. I think they said 8,000. Unless the translators got it wrong.
You could be right. I don't remember.
I just watched it, so that's the only reason I know. I was paying attention because they had a whole conversation with the guild girl, as they call her, and whatnot, because they were asking how old her sister was.
Yeah, that I remember.
But 8,000 years, imagine,
Yup.
and just now getting married.
I don't think I'd want to live that long. But that's one of the beauties of the fantasy genre is, we're able to look at something like that and accept it because that fits the world that it's being portrayed in. Where in our lifetimes, I'm sure all of us would be happy to see, 90s or 100, let alone to think to live, multiple hundreds of years or even thousands of years. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think that's one thing that's important about the fantasy is that a good fantasy will continue to grow your mind and give you a safe spot to let your creativity flow. You're able to watch something, and then even though it's a show, in your mind, you're kind of letting yourself get absorbed into this world. And it has a way of pulling you in, and then you just accept what's going on in this show as the normal, even though in reality
It's impractical.
it's
Impossible.
impractical. Thanks to the world of the imagination, you can see, like shows like South Park where you have Jesus and Santa Claus fighting, or you've got absolutely crazy off the wall nonsense happening in the world of anime with gods and seeing professional wrestlers getting pulled into an isekai where they end up suplexing a princess, and just absolute ridiculousness, but we find it to be extremely entertaining, and it helps to it allows us as people to remember that it's okay to think outside the normal. I think as we grow older and we leave, school life, and we get to be adults and working world and things like that, in society, you kind of get frowned upon if you have an overactive imagination or you want to be creative. A lot of society tries to program us that we need to just get a job, go into the working world, work a 9 to 5, do this, do that. They have a certain path that they want everybody to take. And if you start venturing outside of that path, then you're looked at as weird, an outsider. So many different tropes or so many different tags that go along with people who think outside the norm. But we have shows on TV, movies, anime, comics, manga, novels, stuff of that nature that allows us to be creative. It allows our mind to go outside the normal. And that's when a lot of the amazing things happen, is when you stop thinking inside the box and you allow yourself to push, you allow yourself to push yourself outside of your comfort zone and outside the normal boundaries. And HH in the chat says, but isn't that what we tend to have happen upon a new show? We don't know what's going on. Something happens and it grabs us, and before we know it, we're waiting to see what happens next.
Oh, you mean Astro Lost in Space? The one show that's probably had me on my seat more times and wasn't as predictable as to what would happen next.
And HH continues with, hey, what you watching? I don't know what it's about. There's a dragon. What's it doing? Looks like it's trying to make friends. Maybe he's house hunting.
Or maybe he's trying to serve or maybe she's trying to serve a girl for absolutely no reason.
Or maybe she's trying to lead her own kingdom. Or maybe she's just part of a war crime and made to be a servant to the king and his court.
Or maybe he got placed inside a human being and now is partnered with that human being and meets his old rivals as well as other enemies. Boo stuff.
Or maybe he just married a donkey.
That is very true. Mysterious friends. Huh? Never seen that one.
I haven't seen Mysterious Friends either. But I threw Darren and I threw a lot of different anime references out there with dragons, which I'm sure Angela may have gotten one or two of.
Not gonna lie, if that.
Because there was a Dragon Maid reference. There was a Monster Girl Doctor reference. I had a reference to How a Realist Hero. There was a DXD reference in there.
Shrek, of course.
Shrek.
I think that's the one I got.
Because a donkey.
Because Shrek was fantastic.
Have you seen the Cell versus videos where Donkey showed up and they had to hide They had to hide Shenron?
No.
Take a guess why.
Donkey?
Mm-hmm. He's a Shenron's a dragon. What did Donkey?
Oh, Donkey married a dragon.
Exactly.
But I mean, there's still a lot of good fantasy animes out there that if you know, it's tough to separate, fantasy from isekai now, but if you look, you can find some really good fantasies out there.
Yay! Glad someone got the Team 4-Star reference.
Well, since we're on the subject of dragons, which is also trending on X, who is your favorite dragon? Says Ross.
Oh, that's tough.
Humanoid dragon or dragon?
There are so many good dragon characters out there.
Anything
Ross
goes.
says anything goes.
Smog, really?
Part of me leans in a couple of different ways.
I like the Dragon of Dragons. I like the True Dragon. I like the Dragon God. I like the Dragon Emperors, the 5 Dragon Kings. So aka Drake. Great Red, Ophis. Everything else is cringy. Was that where I put my golem?
Trying to find a good picture of this character. She was the dragon girl in Restaurant to Another World. The second waitress with the black hair. Ross chose the other dragon from Restaurant to Another World.
What about your dragons from killing slimes for 300 years?
They were cute, but there was just something about this girl that was definitely kind of trumps them. I mean, she definitely put fear in the hearts of people. At the same time, she was a very good waitress, which was kind of odd. And that's a series I would go back and rewatch.
Not a dragon waitress, but what about our other favorite waitress?
Oh, the
Harpy.
Oh, I thought you were talking about From Restaurant to Another World.
No, I haven't seen that one.
I thought you were talking about Aletta.
Nope.
She's just a demon. She wasn't a dragon, but she was a cute character as well. That was a show that had a lot of really good characters, but never got any love. I mean, Vine in How Not to Summon a Demon Lord Season 3 was a pretty good character as well. Ross is asking if I can pull up a picture of Toa from Dragonaut anime. Let's see. Is this the one that you're thinking of, Ross?
Cute.
That could be Angela's next cosplay.
No,
Why not?
I don't do pink.
Purple?
Purple's my favorite. I also try to avoid heavy wigs because my own natural hair is stupidly heavy.
Long silence.
Yeah. Things aren't working right.
When do they ever?
Opened up a new tab and it decided it didn't want to work anymore. I was like, okay. But it's all good.
So business as usual.
Pretty much. In the world of some of our favorite YouTubers, Ange, did you see that Aki was in the hospital?
I did see that. I'm glad she's doing better.
Yes, definitely glad that she's doing better. Glad it didn't turn out to be more serious than it was. And it also makes you realize just how crappy the US medical system is. When you see everything that they went through, and it cost quite the fraction of what it would have cost if it happened in the US.
Yep.
And I know that because I'd gotten behind on a lot of the trash chase stuff and a lot of the typical ones that we watch. And so I didn't know that Aki had been in the hospital. I saw her video talking about it. I guess Joey put one out as well. And then I saw Connor put a video out working at a cat snack bar.
Yep. I saw that.
That was actually kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. That one intrigued me. The fact that they couldn't stop talking about his pink nips was absolutely hysterical.
Yep.
I know that you typically don't watch Sea Dog, Darren, but that one you might enjoy. Typically anything with Connor and Kaho.
HH is saying that in the chat, trying to make a dust cover for a few books I just got. Barnes Noble doesn't sell DIY dust covers for no reason as far as they're concerned. HH, I can tell you that depending for more mainstream popular books series, there's there's custom dust covers being sold on Etsy, which I found very interesting to learn.
Just scrolled over to Facebook, and Emmy Lowe said that somebody came to her table at a convention and talked about how there's a mod in Cyberpunk 2077 where you can mod the certain characters' voices into the game through AI. And how they were excited to use it. Problem is, if you're doing that, the person whose voice you're using is not getting credited or financially compensated for that.
Yeah, that's only a little bothersome.
So it's kind of sad, really. I wish people would stop. Just stop with the AI nonsense.
They won't. I agree, but they won't.
I mean, all of the nonsense of the fake, stealing people's art. You can steal people's voices. You can do all sorts of nonsense thanks to AI now. Yeah, it's a wonderful idea, but man, is it? It's really gonna blow up in our faces at some point. Speaking of conventions, though, this past weekend, if you were in the New England area, Northeast Comic Con and Collectibles Extravaganza was going on. We had a lot of our friends that were there, including Token with the Dead. Johnny C, I believe, was there. I saw a few other people posting pictures. So if you're able to get out to that con or a convention out in your area, I hope you had a good time. Unfortunately, due to not knowing what my schedule was going to be for the next few weeks, B, being sick, and C, just not really having the money, we weren't able to even consider heading out to go to any conventions or events. And next weekend, of course, I know Angela's excited about going to something called PAX.
PAX Unplugged. I'm really, really, really looking forward to that. It's for if y'all like tabletop gaming and you're near Philadelphia, you should come check it out.
Now, what can they expect from PAX Unplugged?
It's like I said, it's a tabletop gaming convention. There's board games, there's card games, there's tabletop role playing, there's miniatures games, and then there's your panels, such as like you could walk into a theater and listen to and watch a live play D&D session or something of the like.
Now, do they put on different tournaments like Pokemon tournaments, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, stuff like that?
I believe there are definitely tournaments. I'm not sure if any of the games you listed have events. I do know if anyone's a fan of the Disney game Lorcana, there's going to be brand new cards available for purchase while supplies last.
That's kind of cool. Now, does PAX have like exclusive that come out for that? Like some other bigger events, or?
What they do for people who do the enamel pin collecting and trading, they do a lot with that. There's also PAX branded merch, like the jacket I happen to be wearing. This was from a couple of years ago.
That's cool. I know you've been a big supporter of the PAX conventions, PAX East and Unplugged.
I've been working them since 2021 and running D&D games at a couple of them before that with other groups.
I know that there are a few streamers that I enjoy watching that come to find out frequent PAX East. Which I'm not going to lie, I would love to get a couple of them on the show.
PAX East, there's a good number of streamers who go up there for that. But Unplugged is kind of the screens free for the most part.
That's why it's unplugged.
Bingo.
It's more of all of the gaming outside of the electronic kind.
But yeah, that's where I will be next weekend. So if you like board games or card games or tabletop role-playing games and you want to go check that out, I highly recommend it.
Definitely go out, have a good time, and if you see Angela, ask for her autograph. She's famous.
At this point, I'm sure some of my comments are.
I mean, we could make some of Darren's tired comments public. No response.
No response indeed. But no,
Very interesting.
I do remember talking about this with Jay Moores when he was on the show.
Now, do you find that there's a lot of indie gamers who go to PAX as well, or?
There's a lot of indie board games that get demoed. Absolutely. There's an entire section where you can demo board games that haven't been released yet.
It sounds like it would be a fun time. I wish that I was able to go, but unfortunately, with the new work schedule, I am not going to be able to make it at all.
Boo. But if you can, come up for PAX East.
PAX East is on the list of cons I want to try to go to at some point. Especially knowing that there like I said, a lot of the streamers that I follow go to PAX East in Boston. And I was surprised to see like vlogs that some of them put up of their trips out there. Sigils, who's a Minecraft gamer and streamer, was there a few years ago dressed as the Green Among Us guy. Dropsy, who's part of the Buddies with Jerome ASF, says that she goes there quite often as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if Jerome went, because Jerome's currently living in New Jersey, I believe. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went, and I would love to have any of them on. They put on good content.
Have you reached out to them?
I've tried sending emails to Vigils and to Jerome and gotten no responses as of yet.
Fair enough.
Going through some of the bios and stuff on their social media pages and finding business contact info trying to go through the correct channels and not be annoying about it.
As we do.
So try to do things the proper way. We don't want to make enemies.
No, we don't want to be that asshole.
And HH in the chat says, LOL, dude, sorry, but a kid came in today with a one-piece sweatshirt. Had a good cadence to it.
Question
Stupid. Sorry.
question from Ross. Death Parade, isekai or fantasy?
I haven't seen it.
Neither have I.
Technically, I guess you could classify it as a fantasy, but it's not really an isekai because the lady died, and she's basically in limbo. So I don't know. I guess you could consider.
I mean, that's like some of the craziness of like the anime in general. So many shows just fall under so many different categories. And isekai and fantasy kind of go hand in hand. I don't know if you can find an isekai that's not a fantasy. You know what I mean? Because the whole concept of being isekai in all reality is a fantasy. There's no proof in our existence. Nobody has been able to solidly prove scientifically that you can be reincarnated and brought back as another person, another item. I mean, it would be neat if we could figure that out if that happens, but there's no scientific proof. So the world's not going to believe it one way or another. That's why it falls into the fantasy realm, and I think that's why we've kind of embraced this. Always, growing up as a kid, I always heard people talk about reincarnation and being brought back, and isekai is just the Japanese view of it, and it kind of took off more than I think any of us expected it to. Not that the shows have gotten any better. A lot of the concepts have gotten dumber and dumber, but I'll still watch it because
Vending machine
had no right to be as good as it was. And it kind of annoys me that it was that good. I'm not going to lie. Vending Machine should not have been as good as it was. And I'm not just saying that because I'm isekai trash. Even my wife said that it shouldn't have been as good as it was. And she also has been enjoying the Heat the Pig Liver anime.
Told you.
That's two isekais that she really enjoys that I haven't watched. The other one being Jobless Reincarnation, which at some point I will start watching.
Because it is amazing.
Ross in the chat says 100 Girlfriends is a fantasy.
I haven't gotten to. I'm not caught up.
Oh, So I'm a Spider, So What was also really good. That was an isekai. She really enjoyed that. I've seen a couple episodes of that one.
I'm sorry, but that one was good. Like, really good.
The Hundreds Girlfriends one seems more like a nightmare than a fantasy based off of the vice principal.
And HH says Plunderer had a good plot, but there were some arcs that were just too much.
I think you find that in a lot of shows nowadays. Some shows just try to push one way or another, the edginess or some certain topic or something like that. HH says Astoria is good. I just couldn't get through the weakest to the strongest plot. Kind of sounds like My Hero. I just couldn't get through the weakest to the strongest plot of Deku.
God.
I won't say that My Hero is a bad anime. I may call it overrated, but I'll give a lot of credit to the creators of My Hero were coming up with quirks for that many different people and every one being an original quirk and stuff. It's amazing that they were able to do that.
And I will agree with you that there are arcs of My Hero that are very overrated. And I'll even agree that Deku's heart is arguably up through a certain point one of the weakest characters.
And I know that the whole design of My Hero is to show the life path that Deku goes through from being someone with no quirk to having one of the strongest quirks. But it just got boring.
Ross is trying to figure something out. Would being in space be an isekai or a fantasy?
Fantasy.
It all depends on how you got there.
I would also argue space stops being fantasy and starts being science fiction.
Because if you consider space a fantasy, then that would make things like Star Trek and Star Wars as fantasies as opposed to sci-fi.
Nope. And I will 100% disagree with that.
And I can't see those as fantasies.
Space Western, maybe.
Space Western. We call that Trigun. The original. I didn't watch it.
But Trigun wasn't space.
No. Space Dandy.
You mean the one that debuted in dub before the sub was available?
Yeah, the one that we had Ian Sinclair. I think it was Ian Sinclair who was in that, and he mentioned Space Dandy like 50 times in an hour-long interview. Let's see here. Yep, Ian Sinclair was Dandy. He was a fun interview. If I remember correctly, he was drinking on the day of the interview, which is part of the reason that he kept talking about Space Dandy. But I think that's what made it fun. And it's crazy to think that, Thanksgiving has just passed and we've only got, 3 more shows after this?
Something like that.
Yeah, we've got December 3rd, 10th, and 17th. And then after that, we're taking 2 weeks, our normal 2 weeks off at the end of the year to spend time with friends and family for the holidays, kind of recover, regroup a little bit, and prepare for 2024. And we are looking at doing a Smash or Trash on December 17th. So that's something to mark on your calendars. And as always, we are going to try. I think it would be fun to have one of our friends from the chat join us. I know one time we did it, Mario joined us. One time we did it, we had our my friend Jeremy join us. I think we had Julia Coelho join us for part of one.
John Knight in the chat. Speaking of Space Dandy, next year will mark the 10th anniversary of the Space Dandy English dub. Fun fact.
Don't forget that was they were debuting that at the same time and actually came out before the Japanese sub.
That's the fun fact. Space Dandy was the first anime to have a simuldub.
And Ross says he will be there for sure for another Smash, Trash, or Cuddle, which I know my wife will be working diligently over the next few weeks to pick out characters for us to decide on whether we would Smash, Trash, or Cuddle. She asked for any limitations. I said none. So who knows what will get thrown in there. I'm sure she's going to try to find a trap or two.
Or no reverse traps?
Could be reverse traps. You never know.
Let's.
I don't know what she's going to come up with.
I almost want to put a caveat on there. Make it age appropriate. Appearance is notwithstanding.
I obviously like no children, things of that nature.
Exactly. That's really as far as I was going with that.
So no Anya, but yours okay.
Exactly.
What about
Senko's okay because she's 800.
Now, what about the girls that are a little bit younger, like the almost graduated high school spectrum?
That's like 80% of anime out there.
That's my point.
I was more going with the let's not have Anya from Spy Family in there.
That's not even a Smash, Trash, or Pass. That's a must protect.
That's a cuddle.
Yes, but
like, why would they include people that young in the first place? Like, if they're not at least high school, don't include them.
That's
basically what we've been doing all along.
Yep. The closest thing we've had was maybe a middle schooler. I don't even remember. But that's only because they showed an adult form later on in the series.
And Ross says no red pandas this time.
Yes, no Tanuki.
No red pandas.
I'm confused.
You're confused?
I think I'm missing something with the no red pandas.
You are.
That's because you didn't watch the whole show.
Okay.
You still don't get it, do you?
Nope.
Did I tell her, Doug?
Conception is all that needs to be said.
Thank you. So you did get it.
I get enough.
I'm trying to see if I can find a picture of the red panda in human form from the anime.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Because he wants to share his misery with the rest of the world.
But I can't actually find one, so we'll just leave it at that. So y'all got lucky. But like I said, I have no idea what is going to be put on that list. But I'm sure it's going to be something interesting. And every time we've had one person fall for a trap. Darren and I haven't fallen for one. It was always somebody extra who joined us. Mario fell for one once, and Jeremy fell for Phoenix or Felix. I don't remember who Mario got fooled by. And if I remember correctly, last time Ange was on for a Smash or Trash, my wife tried to throw a reverse trap in there to try to get Ange, and she didn't fall for it.
There was also the one that you guys came really close to falling for.
Yeah, we talked about it. I was like, no.
And then I kept my mouth shut because I knew the character and you guys didn't. Darren, question on the little girl graduating high school spectrum statement from earlier. What category would Shinju Inui from Dress Up Darling?
Is that the 14-year-old?
Probably.
So
And then-
what's her face's little sister?
Yeah, the little sister that looks like she should be the big sister.
Oh, you mean like the twin? Excuse me. You mean like the girls in One Punch?
Never seen One Punch.
Didn't get that far in One Punch. HH says no excuses. Full Dive was good if they gave it the proper rendition. Seriously, a quote impossible game stat that was only ever successive run. That's like Impossible Cubed. What's not to like? Not gonna lie, HH. I watched that entire 12 episodes and I did not enjoy that one at all. Everyone in the house basically, everyone thought somebody else was enjoying it, so no one said anything. And then by the time we had the conversation, we were already at episode like 9 or 10. So we said, well, we've made it this far, we might as well finish it.
But then you have, but on Darren's point too, you also have the reverse where you have the adult that looks like a little child, i.e., the teacher from Certain Magical Index.
Or the one from my mental multiple choice power. The Lolly Sensei, the Lolly Hag Sensei.
And Ross clarified, yes, that's exact. Going back to Dress Up Darling, that's exactly who we meant. What's her name's little sister that looks like
an adult?
No Holds Barred.
I mean that one there is like the borderline, I think.
So the average age of consent in Japan?
Let's go with that.
So 14?
Ish.
Because if we're going the average age of consent in the U.S. of 18, you're going to cut out a ton of characters.
Isn't it technically 16 in the U.S.?
Only in certain states.
And I think that's with consent from the parents.
Texas is questionable.
Well, they're questionable for a lot of things.
No, but there's a story about that issue specifically that came out of Texas a few years ago, and I'm just gonna leave it at that because it's not something I really want to get into on air.
Understandable. Talking about something to get into on air, Darren, did you finish Quintessential Quintuplets season 2?
No.
Did you start it? I know that you were
No.
on me about trying to watch season 1.
No.
You weren't.
Ross,
No, I don't
Alabama
think-
is a different set of problems.
I had a lot going on that season and forgot because I was so slapped.
The wife and I decided recently to go back and give Quintessential Quintuplets another try, and we got through season 1 and said, you know what, it was a lot better than we remember it being. And it may be because we were able to sit down and watch it in bigger chunks than watch one episode, wait a week, watch another episode, wait a week.
Some shows are not gonna lie, some shows are like that, where you watch where they hold up week to week. Others are better just binging a lot at once.
And we are now into season 2 of Quintessential Quintuplets, and it actually has been really good, really entertaining. And my wife and I both agree that there are 2 different girls that we think are best girl in the show.
Miku, I'm sorry.
I like the ditzy orange haired one, and she likes the one with the headphones.
Yes, Miku.
Miku is probably my number 2, but for just
And I think that's Yotsuba.
Yotsuba, yeah, I think it's Yotsuba, the ditzy orange hair one with the green
Yeah.
ribbon.
Yes.
I liked her just because from the start she was the only one that really gave him the time of day, where everybody else was cold and cruel to him to start off and then slowly opened up.
Miku
And
just kind of played the indifferent role the whole time.
I won't give anything away, Darren, but when you have some downtime, I would definitely say watch season 2. He got some balls on him. That's about all I'll say.
Finally.
He at one point he tells their father off.
Okay. So, like several other characters I've known about. Awesome.
But it was quite the interesting way that he did it. And Ross says Miku was best girl out of all the girls. She was the biggest character growth and is the only sister who played fair.
Agreed.
True. She also tried to kill him with her cooking, but she did eventually ask for help.
That's this poison can get rock slide.
And as far as 100 Girlfriends goes, I don't know how far you got into it, Ross, but your favorite Nightmare Fuel made a return in the most recent episode, the one that dropped today. The show has been interesting. I'm not going to say it's good or bad. I'm going to say I'm kind of just watching it now to see what happens. Kind of one of those cases of I'm like 8 episodes in and just kind of want to at least finish the first season. May or may not continue.
Oh, are you caught up on Girlfriend?
Yes.
So, what do you think?
About where everything is?
Yeah, what do you think about one of the other girls, my blackmail?
Yeah, that was kind of I kind of could see something developing there when, because let's be honest, girls always have that intuition when another girl likes someone.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that through many different animes, and I don't know if Ange can confirm that or not, but women usually are better at picking up when when another girl likes a guy or whatnot.
It depends. I'm not the right girl to ask that to because I'm oblivious.
Well, I'm oblivious too. Half the time I don't know when people like me.
To answer John's question in the chat, John, I can barely believe the year's almost over. To answer Ross's question, I'm 2 episodes behind on Guard Dog, so I don't necessarily have an answer. When I'm caught up, I'll let you know.
But I do think that it's kind of funny that the best friend now has kind of come to terms with the fact that she has feelings for him, turning it into the possibility of girlfriend times 4. Of the 4 girls, Darren, from Girlfriend, which one do you like the best?
That's kind of a tough one. I actually like Mirika the best of the bunch to an extent. Is she annoying? Yes, but at least she knows what she wants. What about you?
Ah, I kind of like Nagisa,
Of course, because who doesn't?
because even though she knew he had she knew he had a girlfriend, she still asked him out. Shino's just kind of conniving. Milika is just like money hungry. With all the money and stuff, she just seems like so stuck up on herself and will do anything she can to get what she wants. And Saki is just too oblivious to really have a full grasp of what's going on.
And what's her name?
Which one?
The other one, the best friend. I don't know why I can't think of her name right now.
Yeah,
Gray
that was Shino.
Gino. You didn't comment on her.
I did. I said that she kind of like sticks her nose in where it doesn't belong, and
I
then
thought you were talking about. I thought you mixed that in with Mirika, the fatty.
oh no, I did the Shino take, then I did Milika, and then I did Saki last.
Uh, just my question is, the guy is literally getting a taste of his own medicine right now. He pestered this girl to go out with him for how many years and wouldn't take no for an answer, and now he's having to basically eat his just desserts with Mirika.
Pretty much. They say what comes around goes around. He's too honest for his own good.
He's very annoying.
I mean, I put him up there. I don't know. I think he might be his own level of annoyance. I was gonna say with Ichika, but Ichika is a different kind of annoying. He was the oblivious annoying. Where this guy's like, okay, I have 2 girlfriends. That's all I want. Do what you will, but it's not going to sway me. But basically the show is like the opposite of gamers.
Yep.
Gamers, nobody talked. Here, he says too much. If I'm being honest. But on that note, we are almost out of time. Once again, we hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hopefully you had a safe weekend. Ross, I hope you feel better. I know allergies suck. I suffer from them myself.
Ditto, Ross. You have my sympathies. Hopefully you can find some allergy meds that will help you sleep.
I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Next weekend, like I said, Angela will not be here, so it's just going to be Darren and myself talking about some random topic. We'll probably choose a different genre to talk about. Maybe next week we'll talk about isekai. Since Ange isn't big on that, we'll get that out of the way when she's not here.
Or ecchi.
Or you guys can do that. And since I don't know a lot about either and have very little to say, I won't be here.
But until next week, when we're going to have more fun here on Anime-Zing Radio, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Stay safe out there. If you're anywhere where there's been some bad weather, stay warm. I know that there's been some storms coming across the country. I heard that there was some decent snowfall over this past week. Thankfully, we haven't had any here yet. I don't know if you've had any snow out your way or not.
I have not. Fingers crossed we don't see any until after I get back from Philly.
Hopefully. I hope you have a fun time out there, and that could be a fun topic of conversation for the 10th. You could talk about PAX East, maybe get some footage or some content from PAX to share on the show.
If I do have time to get anything, I will. No guarantees.
Of course. Until next week, as I said, I hope everybody has a wonderful week out there. Stay safe, keep enjoying the shows, and thank you so much once again for joining us here on Anime-Zing Radio on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And also thank you to all of you amazing streamers who tune in to us on the podcast platforms. It really means a lot to us. Until next week, have a wonderful night. This has been Anime-Zing Radio, and we'll see you again next week.